All right, I see a red box. Inside that red box, I see the word live. I'm consulting my host manual. That means go figure. We are in fact live. There's no turning back now, Rachel, man. You have jumped climbed mountains, man. You jumped through hoops. And we haven't even started this show. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being patient. They always say great things come to those who wait. Having a good authority. That's exactly what will happen tonight. Check out talkshop.live to view hundreds of the very best artists who, by the way, have autographed their albums for fans just like you. Completely psyched, man, to have this great talent on this evening, as if he needs one introduction. And as if he hasn't worked hard enough, I'm going to ask this gentleman if he would mind doing the honors of introducing himself to you fine folks out there.
Hey, man. Hey, everybody. This is Rachel Bolan from Skid Row and Bolan. How you guys doing?
I'll tell you what, man. Rachel has spent 40 years shaping the sound and attitude of the great Skid Row, the band he co-founded with, of course, guitarist Snake Sabo in 1986. I'm not going to ask you to do the math, but man, that's a major anniversary from day one. He was one of the band's creative engines, pioneering and powering one of the most influential rock records of the late 80s and 90s, and he never stopped pushing forward over the decades. He's left an unmistakable imprint on projects across the rock and the metal world. Now he's pushing to the next limit, delivering his solo debut, which is mind-boggling to me. I'm even saying that it's taken this long. We'll talk about that tonight. We shall celebrate this momentous occasion. So please buckle up. Let's kick this show off. Sam, if you would, let's roll the video.
Thank you, Steve. You made it very easy for me.
Man, Rachel, I'm already amped up to 12Y. That's one more than Nigel's 11. For those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about, go see the movie. Where have you been? I'm Steve Harkins, your host for the Rock and Roll Channel on Talk Shop Live. Please welcome to Rock and Roll Channel's Talk Shop Live back again. He was with us a couple of Skid Row albums ago, man. So excited for his debut solo record, Rachel Bolan, otherwise known as Bolan. And we'll go back and forth on that one. Rachel, thanks so much for being here, man. Where do we find you this fine evening?
Thanks. I'm actually at home in New Jersey in my studio right now.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. And, I want to tell everyone, fans, if you like to ask Rachel a question or you have a comment, just hit the chat function and we'll get to as many as possible. Rachel, I might have said this when you were on with Skid Row, but man, people associate you as an entertainer, providing entertainment, but I have to say, man, especially after this record, what you do is far more important than that. I think music seems to be the one common thread that we have today to bring people together. And I just want to say, first and foremost, man, thanks for what you do. We need more of it.
Thanks for saying that, man. That really means a lot. Yeah, and you're right. Music is the one thing that binds us together, It's not divisive, which is nice.
Exactly right. I mean, I always say it doesn't matter what your religious convictions are or even political affiliation. We're a unified front, man. When you set foot on stage or deliver a great record like the one you've done.
Thank you so much, man. I worked hard on this, and it's funny how you mentioned how it took so long. That keeps going through my mind too.
Yeah, I'll bet time flies, man. When you got your hands full with all kinds of projects and requests. But congratulations, man, on Gargoyle, the Garden State. We need this album, as I said, to counter, I think, the pent up angst most of us have these days. And man, there's so much to unpack. I mean, your many influences. You cited Sex Pistols, Ramones, Mark Bolan. I mean, from an outsider looking in, man, I hear some vintage Alice Cooper, which I mean is an utmost compliment, but all of this with your own stamp on it. You have to be happy with this record.
I'm really happy with it, and it's funny because one of my friends said to me, he listened to the record. He said, "Wow, your influences are really showing here, man." And
Yeah,
like, I wear that like a badge of honor, you know.
absolutely.
I mean, I grew up the fourth out of four kids, and there was always music coming out of all the different rooms. My one sister was into the British Invasion, like Beatles and Herman's Hermits and all that stuff. My brother was into Hendrix and
Yep.
Chicago and Miles Davis, and my other sister was into singer songwriter stuff like Melanie and James Taylor, and I loved it all. But then I started forging my own path along the way, and Kiss came into my life, and Deep Purple, and then punk rock, and I was just like,
Yeah.
wow, game changer.
Spoke to you for sure. Was there like this particular moment where you just knew, okay, man, this is my destiny. This is a path I got to take.
Yeah, Kiss Alive, when I listened to that record, my
Yeah.
friend John turned me on to it. He had it, and we would listen to it nonstop. And I just kept looking at the picture of Gene Simmons, and I'm like, I want to do this. I want to play what he plays. I didn't really know what a bass was, and I brought the picture down to my parents. They were finishing up dinner, and
Yeah.
I play what he plays. And my mom goes, "With the blood, right?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
fine, whatever, right?"
Yeah. It's funny, a friend of mine, he was the first drummer in a band I was in. His brother was actually, I think, he thought he was on the pathway to working with Gene and Paul, but once they started, working up the shiny clothes and the makeup, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not feeling this as a good career path." Obviously, not a good move on his part.
Mhm.
When he left, in comes Peter Criss, man, the rest is history. But,
Wow.
talk about a great influence for sure, and I'll tell you what, talk about a great era to grow up in terms of music. I'm biased, because we kinda grew up in the same era, but man, 70s, even like the late 60s, there were no boundaries as far as artists were concerned, which is, I think, why so much great music was produced. It was like they just went with their gut and their instincts instead of, kind of being framed from a commercial standpoint as to, kind of fitting into a particular, whole, as far as the labels were concerned. And so, man, you talk about, and you just rattled off all this incredible music that you were exposed to, and yet it was a whole nother direction because of this other swath of amazing music that you got turned on to that, ultimately created your calling.
Yeah, for sure. I think about all the bands in the '70s from when I was a kid through being a teenager, and man, okay, I said Cheap Trick. And before
Yeah,
I get into the punk rock, Cheap Trick,
yeah,
Kiss, AC/DC, Paul McCartney and Wings,
yeah,
Peter Frampton, and
yeah,
all these bands, like most of them broke from live albums, which
that's
was
right.
great. And they'd play the live tracks on the radio in the rotation, and it was really cool. And like you said, there was really no boundaries. If a band had good songs, they had good songs. They got signed, and they would nurture bands back then. They wouldn't just
Right.
be like, okay, there's nothing on the radio. They're gone. You know what I mean? They would grow
They
bands, and it
they
was such
refer
a
to it
great.
as career development.
Yeah, and it was such a great era for bands, and man, I just, I'm thinking of other bands like Blondie and all these bands, that were so great. Aerosmith, of course, and yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
brother, we could be here all night and still not, I think, check all the boxes as far
I
as how many
agree.
great
I
records and
agree 100%.
artists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so many
and
of them.
absolutely. So why did it take so long to release a solo record? And when did you know, the light bulb went on, "Okay, this is time. It's time now. I'm going down this path."
Well, my day job took up a lot of my time.
No doubt.
I mean, Skid Row's my life, and
Yeah.
it's been for over 40 years. So the idea was always rattling around in the back of my brain. And, I write songs just about it, or I write every day. I don't always complete the songs, but I write every day. And I know after so much time, even before 40 years, like kind of what's right for Skid Row and what's not. We know what our fans expect to hear at this point. So,
Yep.
um, I had a bunch of songs. Like a few of the songs are almost 15 years old. I think like three of the songs on the record that I wrote a long time ago.
Huh.
And I played them for Nick Raskulinecz, who produced the record,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Let's do a solo record. We'll do it right here in my studio." And I was like, "All right, let me check with your music, my label." And I said, "Let me see." And they were into it, thankfully. And then I just started the ball rolling, and we had a bunch of songs. Some of them were really cool, but some of them I was like, a little iffy. And I trust Nick so much with the choices
Right.
of what songs. And he's like, yeah, write something better than this and this one and this one. And I just went into full on woodshedding writing mode. And the last song on the record, I sent to Rob Hammersmith, who played drums. I sent it to him the day before I left for Nashville. I was like, I got one more song for you to learn, dude.
Shoehorned that one in.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like it's not like I could find the time. The time finally found me to where we had enough downtime where I could do something like this. And it just once it started, everything just started snowballing.
I'll tell you what, a couple of things, the music sounds timeless. It sounds reminiscent of a lot of music we grew up with, but man, it sounds contemporary as well. And, I couldn't decipher if you asked me to try to pick, okay, a song that was sitting on the shelf from 15 years ago versus that last minute, vision that you had, that fortunately made the album. And I'll also say too that we're talking about no boundaries. That's what's great about this record. Like I was telling you before, before we went on, man, this was I didn't see this record coming from you, but it's man, it's such a great, it shouldn't be a surprise, but at the same token, it's like, man, you're showing sides of you that we hadn't been exposed to because, we all grew up with you, through Skid Row. And of course, you worked on some other amazing projects. So it's like, man, you're not that you're blossoming, but you're just sharing these other sides to you. And so thankful, and it was absolutely worth the wait. I think everyone's going to agree. You mentioned Nick, and it
Mhm.
seems like a dumbass question, knowing his background, but for your purposes and from your perspective, what did he bring to the table? You said sometimes he would push you, man. I don't get the sense that, he's the kind of guy who's like a Svengali, where he's like molding you, into a vision of the kind of artist, but that he's just trying to take you to the next level and make sure that you're bringing the very best to the table.
Yeah, and Nick and I were friends before we did
Yeah.
this. So it was really cool to work with him one-on-one. I mean, we did with Skid Row, but working with him one-on-one, we laughed a lot, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah, what he brought to the table was um, what he said even before we started. He goes, "Okay, we're gonna take the songs, whatever songs you demo or have
Right.
demo, and we're just gonna make them sound better. And I'm gonna throw my zhuzh on there, and,
Yeah.
and throw ideas at you." And I knew right what he meant, and I trust him fully with the songs. And there was very little changes. There were added parts, and I think the biggest changes were tempos sometimes, where he'd be like, you should knock this up a few clicks, I think." And so we would do that, and just a couple ideas. Like, he is like a creative monster, man. He
Yeah.
just he's like he'll sit there and come up with something. Like, we were literally playing a song, and I was playing facing him. He was listening. He's at the board, and I was sitting sideways to him. And he goes, "Downbeat on the second verse, stop playing." I was playing rhythm guitar. He goes, "Stop playing for eight counts." And I'm like, "Wow." And I stop. He goes, "Start." I start playing. He goes, "Okay, stop again." He goes,
Yeah.
"Play." And so we did that. And he's like, "Cool, do you like it?" And when we listen to playback, I was like, "That was awesome." Even if the part sucked, I was like, "That was a cool experience."
Incredible vision.
Yeah, and he just feels it. And that's why he's so good at what he does, because no matter what
Right.
artist or band he works with, it sounds like them,
Yeah.
it's
That's
good,
right.
great sonically, and all the tones are great because of Nick, but he doesn't let the band stray. Like,
Yeah.
he wants the band to sound like the band. And he did that with Skid Row, and he did that with me. And he's like, "I just want that Jersey guy attitude, that dude that I know, that doesn't care what people think about him and doesn't care what
Right.
people say. And I
Yeah.
want that on this record." And so he kept pushing that, and he pushed me as far as guitar playing. I'm a decent guitar player at best, but he would be like, "Try this," and I'll be like, all right. And I do it. I'd be like, oh, cool. I did something. I accomplished something new.
I'll tell you what, man, and what really stands out, man, your vocals. I mean,
Thank
just absolutely amazing. And the other thing that stands out, I wanted to bring up, killer album cover design, man, the imagery, and I think it was just your vision. Can you kind of share some insight on how you created that whole thing? It feels like I hate using that term Easter eggs. I don't know what else to use, but man, I was trying to blow up the album. I couldn't blow it up enough, but I go, man, I see two images, and I'm like, okay, what am I seeing here? And so I got to call you on that one.
Yeah, wait till you get the gatefold because that
Yeah,
opens and it's the
no
other
doubt.
half. Okay, so we talked about the 70s, and my favorite thing about album covers, and I'm sure it was a strategic move back then, is when you have an album cover that you could just keep finding stuff, you're
Yeah,
gonna hold that in your hand. You're gonna listen to the album again,
that's
right?
right.
That wasn't in my head. In my head was like, I want the album cover for people to look at and say, wow, I didn't see that last time I looked at it. I want this to be completely immersive. I think that's the correct word. And like,
It
so
is.
that when you're listening to the album, you're looking at it and you're like, I did not notice that. And then maybe a friend goes, hey, did you notice the blah, blah, blah in the
Yeah.
corner of this? So anyway, I get the woman that took the picture, the photographer, Annabelle DeFlux, very creative. And you never know what you're gonna get. We had never met before. She was referred to me by Tammy Down,
Uh-huh.
and, said, he goes, oh no, she's great. Just check her out, give her a call, whatever. And so she's out in LA. I flew out to LA, and I went to her studio, and the red chair that I'm sitting in was there. We had talked on the phone a few times, and I said, I want it to be like in I want it to look like I'm in just a weird oddity store, or just
Yeah.
his office that just oddities. Yeah. So she's like, okay, cool. And she's like, I got ideas how to shoot this and lighting and stuff. So I get there and I see that chair and it was off to the corner. I go, that chair I want to be sitting in. And
Amazing.
she's
Sitting
like,
there.
that's awesome. And I was like, I have these red sunglasses that I think will match this chair perfectly. So I told her the whole thing. And a few of the things are actually there, right?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff was Photoshop and stuff like that, and her wizardry and the magic that she created. And she would send me a proof, and I, I don't think I changed anything. I was just like,
Amazing.
wow, this is so much what I was thinking in my head,
Yeah.
And it's really cool when you meet another creative like that, like for the first time in person, and you guys just get it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's magic. Yeah. You
It
can't create chemistry.
Yeah, it really is. It was total chemistry.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the vibe reminded me a little bit. We were talking about the 70s, but there was like this movement for these occult bookshops. I mean, and I'm not saying it, well, people are going to have to spend time looking at the album cover. I'm not giving anything away, but just kind of had that vibe where it's kind of mysterious and kind of stepping into an interesting atmosphere, a little bit out of your element, but still intriguing.
Thanks. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And, by the way, I just want to tell all the fans, just to squelch any rumors, that Rachel is not holding auditions for the next Skid Row singer on this particular show. So we're not accepting any recordings, tapes, or whatever you might have. And I think somebody mentioned that they heard a rumor that Daryl Hall got the gig. I'm going to stick my neck out and say we love Daryl, but I'm thinking probably not happening. But you correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel. This is not the time or place for that, but we love everybody's spirit and being here. You were talking about the songwriting process
Hmm.
for the project, and you say you go about it in woodshed kind of on a daily basis. So is it an approach where you're just kind of fumbling around with chords, or sometimes I heard described as like you're this vessel where things come to you? It could be a line, a lyric, it could be a melody line, or even a riff that you just hear, and then you kind of build from there.
Yeah, all of the above. What you
Yeah.
just said. Like I got guitars and basses and stands throughout the house. So if something hits me creatively, I have it right there. And a lot of times stuff will hit me while I'm sleeping. If the cat wakes me up or something, I'll hear a melody and I'll run downstairs to the studio and I'll put my headphones on so I don't wake up my wife, and I'll sit there and program some drums and get some ideas together. But I love it when it gets to the point where you can't even hold it back. And I've talked to friends about this, and it's just like this flow that just comes out, and it just keeps coming out and coming out. And you're like, wow, I wrote one song today and I have an idea for 2 other songs, and you just keep writing and writing. And I love when that happens, because I love creating, you know, and when that happens, and it's just so great when you kind of get in that zone. It's not great for the people around you because they can't hold a conversation with you because you're always tapping your fingers, and I clack my teeth to drum beats and stuff like that.
It's the most dysfunctional and unnatural lifestyle, but but it chose you. You didn't necessarily choose it, you know.
It was a calling, you know.
Yeah, it's a calling.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Man, there's so many fans globally, which I'm not surprised. But let's let the music do some of the talking. We'll definitely get to some of the fan questions and comments, except for the auditions. We're not holding auditions. I'll say that again. But Rachel, if you're cool with it, man, I'd like to play portions of a few tracks from the album.
Sure.
Sounds great, man. This is the opening track from Bolan's forthcoming new album, Gargoyle of the Garden State. Buckle up. It's a great one. Here's Anything But You. Sam, if you would, please roll the digital. Rachel, they were scraping me off the walls when I first listened to it. I think they're still scraping me off the walls in a good way. I mean that, man. It's a great look. There's so much here to talk about that's just amazing. But it's like modern day punk rock. But at the same token, man, there's like this juxtaposition, easy for me to say, of like these great pop harmonies against it. But it totally works. And the lyrics, I mean, you had me at the first line fucking up at a Dairy Queen. It takes a lot to do that, by the way. And the old school Dairy Queens that you and I probably hung out at, with Salvation in my hand, taking one more power hit before I make my final stand. Rocks on, rocks off. I'm a Casanova with a Molotov. Man, some jacked up grit tried to pull me in the back. when they're falling on the mirror and they're digging through the cracks. Man, that is a badass, great lyric.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's some regional, mentions there. Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
That whole song is kind of about like crazy decisions I've made through my life where it sounded like a good idea at the time. Get there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh boy, what did I?
I've been there. Yep.
Why am I in the back of a pickup going down I-95 with a bunch of punk rockers singing Ramon songs? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing
Yeah.
100 miles an hour. It sounded fun when he told me we were going to do this. That's a true story, by the way.
I love that. We need to hear more of it when you write the book.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, that one's worth the price of admission alone, and so much so that on behalf of the Rock and Roll Channel and the power vested in me, Rachel, I hereby declare anything but you better than a Keith Richards blood transfusion.
Wow. Okay.
Wear it like a badge of honor, but do it safely for sure, man. I'll tell you what, let's check out another track, man. We're on a roll. I mean, again, we could just box out the rest of the evening playing the tracks, but want to hear your take on a number of these songs. Again, this is from his forthcoming new album, Gargoyle of the Garden State. This is another great one, At War with Myself. Once again, Sam, if you would, please roll the digital. Yeah, Rachel, this is why I don't give out my home address. The fans are pissed at me. How could you cut off a great track? And you know how it works here. If you've been here before, you have to buy the album to hear the rest of the track. I'm sure there's other ways you can hear it, and some of you have, but man, I'll tell you what, that's another one. Talk about a great segue, great follow-up, man, right on that blazing opening track. Instant anthem, man. When that chorus kicks in, driving rocker. And I got to ask you, I should have done my due diligence, but I couldn't find, Wikipedia is what it is, and that's not always the best fact checking. But had you ever fronted a band before? Had you sung lead in the past? I know you've written so many songs, you've written melody lines and everything, so you've had that experience, probably demos. But it's the first time where you've unleashed yourself completely?
No, actually, I did an album with a band called Prunella Scales that I did with a few friends, and I sang for that band. And then when I lived in Atlanta, I had a band with a couple buddies called the Quasi Motors, and the guitar, we were 3-piece and then went 4-piece, but the guitar player sang and I sang, we split it.
Yep.
But this is the first time like solo, not
Full
singing. I've sang all the songs before, but this is really different. And
by the way, I would pay really good money for a Quasi Motors tour T-shirt.
I'll get your
That's a great name.
I think I have a couple here.
That's a great name, man. Yeah, well, like I said, man, just put it on eBay. I'm all over it for sure. But you seem comfortable in your own skin, and that's what's amazing about it. Again, because you're again publicly, you're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. Again, with the musical styles, you can hear all these great influences. And again, another great lyric.
Thanks, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate.
absolutely. Let's hear from some of the fans. This is Mama Macon or Mom Macon 96, who said, "I loved you guys since I was 8." That's got to be an amazing thing for you, Rachel, when you step foot on stage, man, and you scan the crowd. You're looking at probably original Skid Row fans, but you're also looking at multiple generations of fans. I mean, and that is a testament of what you bring to the table and the strength of the music.
It's amazing. It's an incredible feeling, and it's funny that you say step on stage and notice that, because I do. That's the first thing I notice when we go out and we play. And I remember like seeing Kiss, as a kid, and I went with my older sister.
Yeah.
So she never listened to Kiss before that. She just brought my friend and myself because we were 12. We couldn't drive it. So over the years watching Kiss, I'd see them every tour, a few times every tour, and I'm like, wow. I go, they got their kids on their shoulders. And then you could see maybe little brothers and little sisters again. But everybody had makeup on, and I'm like, that's cool. I want to be in a band that does that, someday, that has that. And
Exactly.
we do. And it's an amazing feeling, especially when you see someone that was obviously born way, way after we came out, and they're singing every lyric. That blows that absolutely blows my mind.
We were talking about, man, the spectrum, man, of generations. This is a Ruthie Q 74. We heard somebody who became a fan starting at the age of 8 and has remained a big fan. Ruthie's saying, "My mom is 87 and she still rides a motorcycle and goes to metal shows, especially Skid Row."
I love it.
Rachel, there's hope for the future,
Oh yeah, there is. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Merlin's saying, "Absolutely been with Skid Row since the beginning. Music helped me through a lot and keeps the great memories alive." And that's what I was saying before. You guys are way beyond just entertainers, man. Your music speaks to people and helps them get through great times, and brings people together, as we said earlier.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Yeah, and Kaz is saying, "Love the new songs, pure rock and roll." Man, you got fans from Brazil. I see a number of them from Chile too, man. Chile, have you played Chile? You have, haven't you?
I believe so.
Yeah. They're like rabid fans, man. They just love American rock. And they just, man, and you got a number of fans here. By the way, we had somebody who volunteered you as the new lead singer for Skid Row.
A few people have said that. That's not it. That's for a real vocalist. I am a stylist. I could, first of all, I don't have that range. So we'll find someone that has that range for sure.
Well, diplomatically stated, sir, you do know people, but man, I appreciate your position. Todd Rocks is saying Karabi be a killer singer, but we're going to move on. It's not about auditioning singers here. I just want to remind everybody, man, that we're celebrating. And get this, the first ever solo album from Bolan, of course, I'm referring to Rachel Bolan, the driving force behind Skid Row, bassist, songwriter. He's a Renaissance man waiting for that book, man. We got to get him to work on that. The album is entitled Gargoyle of the Garden State. It runs a gamut, utilizing as many influences, as we said, from Britpop pop to glam to punk to new wave and everything in between. 11 great tracks, top to bottom. The man is absolutely delivered. Hard to believe it's the first one, as I said. And jaw-dropping lineup of special guests, too, man. Corey Taylor, who's been on, the great Corey Taylor. Danko Jones, Nuno Bettencourt, who's also been on. Staggering guitar solo and guitar work on the track he's on. Damon Johnson, Steve Conte, and fellow Skid Row members, Scotty Hill, Dave Snake Sabo, and, of course, Rob Hammersmith. Now, the album releases on Friday, June 12th. However, Rock and Roll Channel fans on Talk Shop Live can purchase their copies right here, right now. And as Rachel's way of thanking you fine fans out there, he's graciously agreed to sign a limited number of copies purchased here on the Rock and Roll Channel on Talk Shop Live. To order your copies, hit the shop button on Talk Shop Live on socials, Facebook and Instagram. If you're on Instagram, please buy a copy, man, because Rachel, man, was tortured trying to set that up. Yeah, so show them the love, man. Just comment shop and we'll DM you a link. Just click it, and the rest is quick, easy, and pain-free, unlike the slight arthritic condition that Rachel may have, or should I say Bolan may have developed, signing for you fine fans out there, but well on the way to recovery. And as I said, they're limited quantities. And in all honesty, folks, there's no greater way to show how much you appreciate the man's artistry than by owning a copy of his first solo effort ever, Gargoyle of the Garden State. Rachel, let's check out one more track if you're okay with that.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Sounds good, man. Here's Memory. Sam, if you would, please roll the digital.
I wanna self-destruct like a chain reaction. I won't cry to you, give you satisfaction. This love got old, lost in the fold. I don't know what you got against me. Not in everything. We'll go one way, maybe someday, but for now you're a memory. Whoa, we'll go one way, maybe someday, but for now you're a memory. Whoa. I did all I could, I gave you what you wanted, then the walls went up, now this house is haunted. This love got old, lost in the fold. I don't know what you got against me, I did everything. We'll go one way, maybe someday, but for now you're a memory. Whoa, we'll go one way, maybe someday, but for now you're a memory. Whoa.
Man, love this one as well. Driving tracks, track with all kinds of hooks. Again, no plagiarism at all. But again, you're like kind of letting your spirit and influences come out and putting your stamp on it. I hear a little bit of like on a guitar, on the rhythm guitar, a little bit of Cheap Trick, for example, in there. It,
It's,
I
it's funny
mean,
because
but I can't point to one specific song. It just has that vibe.
yeah, it's funny because I can't find I don't know where they are because they're such a part of me. But when I hear bands that I love mentioned, like that parts of a song may remind someone of them, it's the highest compliment ever, you know?
Uh, I'll tell you what, now, you've heard me say it before, but man, your vocal sometimes has a little bit of that great vibe of the vintage Alice Cooper as well, but with, a little more of a punk or more amped up feel to it, which, I'm a huge fan and I'm biased for sure. And again, I can't say it sounds like a specific Alice Cooper track, but all these great influences, man, just make for this amazing record. See you on the other side. Special guest appearance, great solo from Snake Sabo, massive hooks, chugging guitar, driving guitars, man, and a great angst-filled lead vocal from you, man. Another instant classic from Bolan. I feel this track was just undeniable.
Thank you. Yeah, again, it has a lot of regional references, and it's just it's one that always reminds me of going to New York and
Yeah.
how that place was so special to me.
Bridges featuring Steve Conte, man. I love the opening, man. It's like this trippy, hypnotic opening. And, you've been, you've said, that, hey, you were influenced by the great Mark Bolan from T-Rex. So kind of has a little bit of that era. But then it, man, just, again, it morphs into this absolute standout rock anthem. Just love this one, man. And this one kind of feels like it comes out of left field in a good way. It was so welcome, as far as the material before it. And again, some really great lyrics on it.
Thank you. I call it the breather. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, I wasn't sure whether I was going to put it on or not, and Nick is like, "Hey, man, you should put it on there. It's a great texture for the record. And I said, all right, let me see if Steve will sing it. And so I called Steve, and he's like, yeah, I'll sing it. And he crushed it as usual. And his vocals are so soulful. And, you know, when I wrote that, I was kind of, John Hughes, or I'm sorry, John Hughes films are kind of on loop in our house, you know, and I guess that just influenced me. And I kind of heard something that was kind of psychedelic Furs vibe, and I love the Furs. And so I just started writing this song and putting the layers on it, and bridges came out of it.
Yeah. This is Taylor Parker, who wants to know, wait, y'all, do they read the comments? I don't know how this works, bro. No, Taylor, we do not read the comments, but thanks for putting a comment in there. I kid, Taylor. Thanks so much for being here. And much love and respect to you, Rachel. That's from Sarah Feud. Man, you got to, you know, again, crosses gender, crosses, you know, the globe, man. It's just amazing, man, how, you know, people from all over the world just absolutely appreciate what you're doing, and especially the solo record when they're hearing the music. Jet Black Universe, great title, featuring the amazing Nuno Bettencourt. Man, amped up glam vibe, man, with a great gritty vocal that you delivered, man. Jet Black and Muse Like Halo, More Rain for the Human Scarecrow, New Wings that have been mistaken for the pain that has been forsaken, The Name of the Father, Blessed Be This House of Horror, I Can't Live in Your World Anymore, I'd Rather Cut It Loose Than Swim For, But If I Drag the Bottom, It Couldn't Be Worse Than Your Jet Black Universe. Great lyric and killer guitar work courtesy of Nuno.
Yeah, Nuno crushed it. Thank you for that. He I hit him up, and I was like, hey man, you want to play would you play a solo on my solo record? And he's like, yeah. He goes, he had so much stuff going on at the time. He's like, we'll definitely get to it without a doubt. He was wrapped up in the Back to the Beginning concert, and he's like, I swear I'll get to it. And I was like, okay. I go, we got time. You know, I think he was the last guy to get his track to us, but I was psyched that he wanted to do it, because the dude's a monster, and he's my favorite guitar player. So he's like, man, I'm just going to play from top to bottom. You use what you want, you know? And I was like, okay, cool. So we took the solo, and we took a bit after the solo that he did. And it just fit. And like, man, like the vision I had for that song is recorded, you know, that's why I asked him, because I was like, man, I could hear his he's a traditional player, but he's also like, he burns, you know what I mean? And
he does. But he serves the song. He never tried, you know, it's not like he's, you know, putting on some, you know, some kind of display for him, you know, exclusive. He serves the song.
That's exactly right. And man, it just, what he sent and what is there is exactly how I envisioned it.
Isn't that like the payoff for being a songwriter, man? When you got that vision, you're just like, you imagine like, this guy's gonna deliver. A, he says yes, and B, he delivers just like you thought he would.
Yeah, it is really a payoff. And you know, just the whole creative process for me, you know, from going from an idea and scribbles on a pad or in my phone or on a laptop, and then all of a sudden onto Pro Tools, and I'm hearing it back, I'm like, wow, that whole process blows me away. Every time I write something that I like, I'm like blown away. So but yeah, when you get something back and that's kind of how you heard it in your head, it's pretty incredible. What's also incredible is that I have really cool friends, and they all said yes. Everyone that's on this record, like people that I wrote with, Nick, all the guys that played on it and sang on it, all friends. And
you know what? It speaks volumes for you as a musician, a songwriter, you know, and the fact that this was your solo record. You know, some of them could have remained your friend by saying, you know, man, I'm just locked up doing something. But at the end of the day, they wanted to be part of it.
Yeah, and it took a monumental moment in my career and made it even more. And I have really cool friends.
I'll tell you what's awesome is that you had this opportunity to be able to do that, right? Because again, like in the 40 some odd years, you know, of doing this, you know, you haven't had that forum, right? I mean, like, you know, when you're in Skid Row, it's Skid Row. You can't have a bunch of special guest guitarists or vocalists. It's Skid Row.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a cool thing to do. I really, it was really important for me for all all the Skid guys to be on it.
Yeah.
And Rob was my first and only choice as drummer. If he wasn't able to do it, I didn't have a plan B. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and then when I asked Scotty, because the song Scotty played on, he actually played the solo on the demo, and I said, "Will you do that again?" He's like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then when I asked Snake, he's like, "Yeah, man, let's do it. Send me the
Yeah.
song." So it was fun.
That's awesome. And, you know, I'll tell you what, I want to remind everybody again, we're celebrating the first ever solo album from Bolan. And if you're wondering who's Bolan, that's the man you see before you. I'm referring, of course, to Rachel Bolan, the driving force behind Skid Row. The album is entitled Gargoyle of the Garden State, and features 11 badass killer tracks. McMahon has absolutely delivered. It's been a long wait, and trust me, it was worth it. He's delivered a great record, and an incredible lineup of special guests, as he just touched on. The album releases officially on Friday, June 12th. However, Rock and Roll Channel fans on Talk Shop Live can purchase their copies right here and right now, and it's Rachel's way of thanking you fine fans. He has agreed to sign a limited number of copies purchased here, both on the vinyl and CD. To order your copies, hit the shop button on Talk Shop Live on socials, Facebook and Instagram. Comment shop will DM you a link. If you're actually watching this on YouTube, just click in the description the link, and the rest is quick and easy. And again, there's no greater way to show how much you appreciate this amazing artist, otherwise known as Rachel Bolan, or in this case, Bolan. You know, and no, I don't believe he's changed his name legally, but I think it was a good call on Bolan. Tell me about the decision to call this record Bolan.
Like, I wish I could take credit for it, but
Yeah.
it was one of my managers, Rob Dippold, who had said, I went, to New York, had a meeting with those guys and said that I wanted to do this. And he goes, "You just call it Bolan." And he just out of the blue, he's like, he comes up with something, and just out of blue, he goes, "You should call it Bolan. That's what should be the band's name." And I was like, "Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool."
You thinking this guy just earned his 15%. Okay, there is a reason why I signed up with him, or whatever that percentage is. I don't want to give away. I know Rob, he's a good man.
Yeah,
and I'm not surprised to hear that.
He's like the mad scientist. So he just
Yes.
goes deep thinker, but he's always, like everything is just like, yeah, here it is. And I love his ideas.
Absolutely. Symphony Design saying, "I've seen you guys 28 times. I think at 30, you should get a jacket or something, right?
Yeah.
Probably." Greetings from the UK. That's from Tommy Pryor. It's nearly 2 a.m. here, which means it's past happy hour. And thanks so much for being here, Tommy. We appreciate it. Greetings from Buenos Aires, and that's Ayrton. And he says, "Thanks to a music teacher." Let me try to pull this one back up. A music teacher actually turned this gentleman onto Skid Row, and from that moment he became a fan. So how cool is that? A music teacher is saying, "Check out Skid Row."
That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's really important. It's sad to see a lot of music classes are going by the wayside in a lot of schools, and
You're right, Rachel.
it's not fair. I had a really cool music teacher. We would learn certain things, and we'd have instruments in the class to mess around with and stuff. But my favorite part of the week is when one of us from the class could bring in an album, and we could play it, and we could tell people why we love the album and the parts to listen to. And there would be conflict because I was a punk rock fan, I was a Kiss fan. A lot of guys like that. I went to school with Deadheads and a lot of Led Zeppelin fans, and I was a late bloomer with Led Zeppelin. Like I was an adult when I really started getting into them. But so I remember he brought in an album, and it was Pink Floyd Animals, and
Wow.
he played it, and I never was so quiet in my life because I was just listening to it, and he gave copies of the lyrics and then asked us, "What do you think the lyrics mean to you? What do you think these lyrics mean?" And so it was great. I was listening to everybody, and everyone had a different take of what that's what they thought the song was about. And that to me is the beauty of music. Like Anything But You, I know what it means to me. It might mean something different to you, different to a kid from Brazil. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Your music, and that day is just stuck in my head. It resonated, and to hear the same thing, he got turned on to music by his music teacher, is fantastic.
I love you sharing that, man. It's a and that's kind of what music's all about, man. They're like the great music experiences are attached to memories, right? And those could be triggered 20, 30, 40 years
Yeah.
later and take you literally right back to that moment. I mean, it's like time traveling in a sense, man. And it also is part of our foundation, without a doubt.
Yeah, I always say that certain songs are a photograph of time. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I remember exactly where I was. I was partying under Seaside Boardwalk when I heard from one of the rides above. I heard "Refugee" by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers,
Wow.
and that song just like
Yeah.
it just did
Yeah.
something to me. Like the moment was perfect. I was there with my friends. We were underage drinking,
Yeah.
and we were under the boardwalk, and our friends worked on the boardwalk, and you know we were passing cigarettes through the boards.
Yes.
and,
Something with smoke.
yeah,
Yes.
and so that song, that was the photograph. Every time I hear that song, boom, I remember my friend Mike up above working at the pirate ride. You know what I mean? It was, and all my friends sitting with me from the Bronx. It was cool.
Dude, I think you just wrote your first 2 chapters of your book, tonight.
All right, cool.
I feel it for
All right.
sure. That was Kiss was your first show, you said, right?
First rock show.
Rock show.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
the only one that counts. Is
Yeah.
the first rock show.
My first concert ever was Liberace.
Yeah, dude, I could top that. My first was featuring Calliope music. That was even
Wow.
more torturous. So, but my first official rock concert, for the record, was Led Zeppelin. And before the record came out, got to hear Physical Graffiti for the first time, and that was talk about moments in time.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Just like the experience that we're having here. And again, I want to remind everybody, man, that we're celebrating the man, the myth, the legend, hereby known as Bolan. Of course, I'm referring to Rachel Bolan, and it's his first solo record ever entitled Gargoyle of the Garden State. It officially comes out on June 12th. The man has been patiently awaiting, like 40 years waiting, I think. It's coming. There's no turning back now. And as Rachel's way of thanking you fine fans, he's agreed to sign a limited number of copies on Talk Shop Live. And all you have to do is hit the shop button on Talk Shop Live if you're on Instagram or Facebook, comment shop, and we'll DM you a link. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, just click the link inside the description. And I'll tell you what, the rest is quick and easy, and there's no greater way to show how much you appreciate this brilliant man. I'll tell you what, Rachel, man, it's like, I can't believe, man, the time is flying here. And I don't ever want to torture you again with setting up Instagram, but I feel like I have to extend an invitation, to have you come back, because I want to cover the rest of the record in more detail if I haven't worn out my welcome already.
Oh, let's do it. I'm in. I am in.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
now I know
Yeah.
how to set up Instagram.
You do. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man, you're the first to say after going through Instagram, yeah, I'm not coming back. Most people are just like, it's not going to happen, dude. Sorry. Yeah. You seem like a nice guy, but not happening. But no, we really appreciate it. And, before we part company, what does, it's hard to believe, man, but we're almost in June, but what does the balance of 2026 hold for you, Rachel, man? Will we be able to experience some of this great music live, man? I'd pay good money to travel to hear some of this live.
I would love that. And that is the objective. It always is: write songs, record songs, play songs. So
Yeah.
that is something I definitely want to do. Rob's in Hammersmith. We have the same schedule. So
Nice.
yeah, so he's going to do that with me, and we're talking to a couple dudes, and looking for the right situation. Or once the record comes out, we'll have a better idea what's going on.
Yeah, we totally understand, man. The concert whole thing is kind of, this weird kind of cosmic thing that nobody's mastered completely, if especially if you're an artist. But
Yeah.
I didn't mean to blow off the fans out there because they're obviously super passionate about, the fabric of your history, which of course is Skid Row largely. But Skid Row's still around, and you
Yep.
guys are taking your time, man. You'll know when you got somebody right. That's the beauty of the position you're in right now.
Yeah, it's like we have the luxury of time. We're not in the middle of
Yeah,
making a record like we were last time. We're not,
right.
tour book like we did one other time. So it's we're taking our time because we want to find someone that's gonna, be a lifer with us.
Yeah.
And we're taking a few people to the next phase of the audition. We got the video submissions, and there's some people that we want to get in a room with, and we will. We want to get a few of them together so they could come to wherever we're going to hold the in-person audition, and yeah, I mean, we're just going from there, but no one's in a rush. And it's kind of cool for the guys that have families, that have kids. They get to actually
Yeah, and it's
spend,
not a pandemic either, right? So, I mean, it's like a win.
not a pandemic, and it's cool. Just we'll find someone. I'm sure it's not going to be another 2 years, but we heard a lot of really good submissions, and there's
I'm
some
not
people that
surprised.
are so good, but they're not the right singer for Skid Row. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That happened a lot, and it's just there's a lot of really talented people out there. Is what I'm trying to say.
And you got several hundred that have applied. And Rachel, I think you're being way too hard on yourself. You know people. I know you said you don't have the range, but you got a plan B. If you got a default to you stepping up to the mic. But man, you got to do what you got to do. In the meantime, man, revel in this amazing solo record. And
Thank you.
congratulations, man. And I want to thank all the fans for being here all over the globe, not just here in the US, but all over South America, over in Europe. And I also want to thank Robert Dippold. We said before, I'm going to give him another shout out, Primary Wave, for his mastery of coming up with random ideas that make sense, as well as sensible things that make sense. And also to Jason Berger at BFD, Bob Frank Entertainment, who I planted the seed saying, man, we got to have Rachel on after hearing some of the tracks because this record's amazing. And so thanks for helping plant the seeds to Joel Phillips and everyone at Ear Music, and also to Robbie Hoffman, William Gamble, and Shannon Burton, and our good friend Jake Anderson at The Orchard, as always, to our fulfillment partners who will get you the Bolan record directly signed by the man himself. That's All Media Supply. Also to Brian, Sandy, Tina, Brad, Joe, Kathy, Jenny, Lavani, Marty, Kate, Brendan, and behind the scenes is always doing a great job, Sam, all from Talk Shop Live. But most importantly, to Rachel Bolan, or shall we say Bolan, for continuing to provide his musical gifts for all of us. Rachel, before we part company, man, any last words you want to share with the fans out there?
I'm just so blown away. I'm reading the comments, and like you
Yeah.
said, I see a lot of Brazil. I see France. I saw who else did I see?
Is it Colombia?
Yeah, Colombia, Costa Rica, the UK, of course.
Yeah.
And here in the United States, I see a bunch of states mentioned. It's awesome. It's such a great feeling to be doing it for as long as I have, and now on this new venture, this new journey I'm on, to have everyone like behind me, with me.
Totally understand, but at the end of the day, man, you delivered, and I think everybody's gonna absolutely love this record from top to bottom. So pick up a copy of this new forthcoming album from Bolan entitled Gargoyle of the Garden State on the Rock and Roll Channel Talk Show Live, personally autographed by the one and only Rachel Bolan. While you're at it, pick up copies for friends and family, man. It's like, Father's Day is coming up, my graduations. This is a gift that'll last a lifetime. Music and art. People will keep going back to it. Not to mention, the man has actually signed it's an heirloom for your friends and family. They'll thank you for it. You worked hard this year. You deserve this great record. So spread the gospel of Rachel Bolan and this great record, and having a good authority will enhance everyone's quality of life. This is a record we need right now, man. With all of the strife and the contention out there, it speaks to the masses. And again, man, I can't thank you enough for being here, Rachel.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
All right, man. Look forward to doing it again, man. I'm going to take you up on it. I want to finish the rest of the record.
Let's do it. I'm in.
All right, outstanding. We're going to make that happen. Part 2, stay tuned to a Talk Shop Live channel near you. And with that, everyone, stay safe, enjoy, laugh, rock on. So long, everybody. Thanks again, Rachel.
All right. Thank you.